Hello there, and welcome to Health and Horsepower. I'm Dr. Andrea Shanowski from Peoria, Illinois, and I am here today because I want to share 3 reasons you may have overlooked that you are having hot flashes, and also 3 tips on what you need to look into to get some answers as to what's going on for you specifically. So, before we get started, I want to talk a little bit more about hormones because I think this is a huge misconception that is way overlooked by most medical providers. So, a lot of times when people are experiencing issues with hot flashes or night sweats, their first thought is, oh my gosh, I have low estrogen. Here's the thing. Estrogen is produced not only in your ovaries, but also your adrenal glands will actually start producing those as we start to get more into peri and also menopause as well. We also have some of that produced from our body fat. So if you have some fat storage on your body, you could also be having estrogen being produced by that. So estrogen is responsible for helping with circulation and blood flow in your body. It does regulate your menstrual cycle. Typically, it's going to actually peak right before ovulation. It also helps to thin your cervical mucus to help with implantation as well as making things a little bit more comfortable when we are having some sexy time. It also helps to activate your macrophages, which helps with your immune function. It also helps with mood balance, with cholesterol balance, with blood sugar balance, as well as helping with your bone and your muscle mass too. It's also responsible for helping with collagen production and moisture in your skin, as well as helping with brain function. It helps with focus and also energy too. So a lot of times when people think, oh my gosh, first thought is I have low estrogen, the actual opposite may be true. You may actually have high estrogen because what tends to happen is I see a lot of times in my office, high estrogen causes a lot of your PMS type symptoms. So things like low sex drive. We can also see when estrogen is low, some issues with irregular cycles. So sometimes when you have cycle changes and you're thinking, oh, I'm going into perimenopause, especially if it's too early, that may be a symptom that you actually have too high of estrogen and not a balance between estrogen and progesterone, which is your other hormone. We can also see when estrogen levels are high, issues with high risk factors for breast cancer. We can also see endometriosis symptoms get much worse. We can also see weak and brittle bones when that level is not proper. We can also see some issues with breast tenderness. We can see issues with everything from concentration affected to headaches. We can see fatigue. We can see drowsiness. We can see sleeping issues. And we can also see hot flashes when estrogen is high and not balanced by progesterone. Now, progesterone is one that I think is, like I said, really overlooked by providers. So here's the thing. Progesterone is produced by your ovaries, and after menopause, your adrenal gland actually should be producing those hormones. But a lot of times those adrenals may have had damage due to chronic stress going on in our life. So sometimes they're not really able to produce those hormones like they're supposed to after we hit menopause. Now, progesterone actually helps to regulate your menstrual cycle. So not only does it help to build up the lining of the uterus, if we don't have implantation happen, your progesterone will drop to signal the start of your cycle. So if you're having irregular periods, that means that you are either don't know the exact day. Like if your cycle is everywhere from 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, all over the place, that's an indicator that your body may not have the proper progesterone level. Because what happens is when that progesterone level dips is when it tells your body, okay, we didn't have implantation, go ahead and start that cycle. We're going to get ready for next month. So that actually helps to signal that cycle. So if your progesterone is low, we may have issues where our cycles are irregular, so not the exact same day every month. We can also see issues where we're skipping periods, or like I said, they start very irregular, kind of all over the place. Progesterone also helps to regulate bleeding during your cycle. So if we are having very heavy or very light cycles, that may also be an indicator that your progesterone is not in the proper range. Guess what? Progesterone also helps with mood. So if we're having experiences with anxiety, depression, mood swings, that may also be an indicator that we could have an issue with progesterone or estrogen. Your progesterone also supports your thyroid function. So if you have some thyroid issues, there's a good chance you may have some progesterone issues going on as well. The other thing we have to understand is progesterone plays a very large role in fertility. So when we do get pregnant, that progesterone level starts to rise. And initially in the first 12 to 20 weeks of your pregnancy, that progesterone is really one of the only things that's maintaining that pregnancy. So if you have low progesterone or your body is struggling to make enough, there's a very good chance that you could be getting some issues where implantation doesn't stick around. It's very hard to get pregnant. You may have some issues where you're having contractions way too early inside of your pregnancy, and that can cause early miscarriage as well. Because like I said, that progesterone helps to maintain the lining of the uterus. So if we don't have enough progesterone, we may have not enough lining to attach to, but also if we don't have enough progesterone after implantation happens, it's very likely that you could have, like I said, contractions happen or have an early miscarriage, because progesterone is really the only thing that's helping that hold on until the placental hormones pick up and start to producing their own. Progesterone is also really important during breastfeeding. So one of the things we see a lot of times is new moms get very stressed out. There's a lot going on when you've got a new baby in the house and you're not sleeping well and you're not taking care of yourself because everything goes into new baby. But a lot of times we will see that our breast milk production drops down, and that's because progesterone also helps with lactation. So if you have low progesterone levels, there's a very good chance that your body may be struggling to make milk production. When your stress levels go up or around ovulation, that progesterone level is going to change again and drop. And again, that can affect your milk supply. So if you've been trying to breastfeed and you've noticed you've had issues with milk supply, or it's kind of all over the place, especially if you start your menstrual cycle back up, that is a good indicator that potentially your body is not producing enough progesterone to help support lactation. So some symptoms of progesterone, which sound very similar to estrogen in many cases, are things like having hot flashes, having trouble sleeping. We can also see bloating and weight gain, as well as headaches when we have low progesterone. We can also see some of those mood swings and depression and anxiety, some of those mood changes when progesterone is low. I did mention already that heavy bleeding as well as irregular cycles or skipped cycles can also be a symptom of low progesterone. We can also see low sex drive with low progesterone. I've mentioned already thyroid function, but gallbladder function also is contributed to from progesterone. So if we're having gallbladder issues or thyroid issues, there's a good chance you may have progesterone issues going on as well. The other thing we want to understand, and I know we talked about fertility already, is if your body's having trouble regulating or making enough progesterone, you may have some difficulty conceiving, or if you do become pregnant, it may be very easy, or a lot of times we can see multiple miscarriages if that progesterone level is not high enough. For women that have PCOS, most of the time in my office when I do hormone testing, I do find that progesterone is low. Now, when we think about why could we be having these hormone imbalances, because like I said, when you're having hot flashes, you could have low estrogen, you could have high estrogen, you could have low progesterone not balancing the estrogen level you have. Sometimes it's just an imbalance of those hormones, not necessarily associated with perimenopause or menopause, but sometimes even chronic stress can cause those same symptoms because your adrenal gland actually plays a part in that. Your adrenal gland will steal away progesterone to help make cortisol to help manage stress levels. So if you're under chronic stress, that can be a big factor, not just perimenopause or menopause. So what I want to do today is, like I said, I want to talk about 3 reasons for hot flashes that are way overlooked a lot of the time. The first one is hormone imbalance. So I kind of talked a little bit about that already with estrogen, progesterone levels. Keep in mind, I like to call progesterone the sanity hormone. That's the one that kind of balances out some of our PMS type symptoms we see with estrogen. And like I said, really important to understand that hormone imbalance, really the only way to know, because a lot of times when you get blood testing, you're only seeing one single point of the day. The actual reality is your hormones change throughout the day. So in the morning, your cortisol level, which is that adrenal hormone I talked about, should be high and then taper off throughout the day. So it should be actually dropping, I usually say about 45% from morning until noontime. But if we look at blood testing, a lot of times the actual range for cortisol is huge in the morning. So if you're anywhere in here, they're like, oh, you're good, you're fine. When in reality, you may be in normal range in the morning, but then crash or sometimes spike later in the day. And that means we have a problem where it could be causing some hormone imbalance. So a lot of times I do find that actually getting testing done that looks at multiple samples throughout the day and looks at bioavailable. So not just what's in your body, but actually what is unbound out there doing work, doing what it's supposed to do. is going to be a better indicator. So I know in my office, I tend to really enjoy the saliva testing because, like I said, we can see what's going on throughout the day with your cortisol level. We can also check adrenal function to make sure that your DHEA level is in the proper range. And we also look at not only estrogen, but progesterone, testosterone, and our ratios between those to make sure they are in proper balance. So normally we do a test kit. It's a saliva test, so you take it home with you. You get a kit and you're taking 4 to 5 samples of saliva throughout the day. One thing that I love about that is, like I said, it tells us what's going on throughout the day. So we know if you're having an issue, what time of day is a struggle, but also what do we need to do to actually balance those hormones to manage some of the symptoms that you're experiencing and support your body to heal itself. So we're not stuck on medication. We're not stuck on pellets or injections or taking prescriptions for the rest of our life to balance these hormones that are unbalanced. We actually figure out what do we need to get in balance again. So that was our one reason that you could be having some issues with hot flashes and kind of what we need to do. Look into that. Number 2 is liver function. So get this, your liver is like a filter. So it has so many different jobs in your bodies. It helps to break down any medications that you're taking. It actually will help with transporting not only minerals and vitamins throughout your body, it'll transport fat and cholesterol so your body can make hormones properly. So if we have a liver issue that's not transporting things properly, we can also see issues where your body doesn't have the cells and the right building blocks to make your hormones. And that is a big issue because if your liver is not working properly, it cannot take those kind of building blocks out to the cells where they need to be to make your hormones. But here's the other thing. Your liver needs B vitamins and C vitamins to actually help get rid of any excess hormones. So if we start seeing estrogen levels start to rise, your liver should be able to capture that extra estrogen and kick it out of the body. It needs B and C vitamins to grab it, and then it needs fiber to attach to actually push it out through the intestine. So if we have not enough B vitamins in our body, or if we have a gene mutation like MTHFR, where you're not able to methylate to actually use those B vitamins, that could be a huge issue. If you have a C vitamin deficiency, so if you're not getting enough C vitamins in your diet, citrus fruits are a great source of that. That may also be an issue where your liver doesn't have what it needs to bind and capture and get rid of those excess hormones that need to be eliminated from the body. Another thing that I think is super important is when it comes to the liver, so it binds those hormones and then it pushes it out into the intestines. But here's the thing, if we have a bacteria imbalance inside of the gut, you actually have a byproduct called beta-glucuronidase that actually can unbind the estrogen and say, nope, it's free, go back out there and wreak havoc on our hormones. So if you have a hormone imbalance, or sometimes if you have some poor diet, so low fiber is a big one, but also if we have a high fat, high protein diet, we also are going to have higher levels of beta-glucuronidase. So if you are not getting B and C vitamins and fiber, that can be a big factor where your liver can't bind things. But if you're not getting enough fiber to actually bind and get it out of the body, you may have that estrogen being unbound and kind of wreaking havoc in your body because of an actual intestinal imbalance, or sometimes, like I said, not enough fiber to help push that out of the body. And then another thing to think about with the liver is we can also have damage to the liver. So that liver does a lot of things in your body. It regulates many different things, which I'll put a card in at the end. I have a video specifically on the things the liver does. But your liver, like I said, does transport fats and cholesterols into your cells so your body can make your hormones. But it's also responsible for a lot of other things. So if that liver is overworked, if it's overwhelmed, it's working super hard and it's missing nutrients, and it can't get rid of some of those toxins, it will actually store it inside the liver, and eventually your liver starts to basically become irritated, inflamed, and it'll start to become damaged. So what we'll see is we can actually see your liver enzymes start elevating. So if you've had labs done and your cholesterol levels are high, especially if your body has an HDL or LDL, so your good and bad cholesterol levels are out of range or out of balance, that could be an indicator that your liver is struggling to move some of those cholesterol fats around your body. And that's a good indicator your liver needs some extra support. Also, if your liver enzymes are elevated, so there are 3 main enzymes. Typically, you would see them on a CMP. That's a comprehensive metabolic panel that you would run or have your doctor run for you in a blood test. I also order those here in my office as part of our normal lab work so we can see how your organ systems are functioning. But the 3 enzymes are called AST or aspartate, aspartate aminotransferase. You also have ALT, which is your alanine transferase, and your ALP, which is alkaline phosphatase. So if you look on your CMP and you see AST, ALT, or ALP levels are higher than normal range, that tells you right there you have liver damage going on. So if your liver is damaged, it's going to struggle with helping to get rid of those excess hormones. It's going to struggle doing its job, and we can see a lot of other systems affected. So not just cholesterol levels, but hormone levels and many other things. And I know we talked a little bit about chronic stress already, but that's our number 3 reason. So if you were under chronic stress, whether that is due to just life in general, mom life, trying to work, trying to run a home, trying to get things done, finances, whatever stressors you may have, your family, your kids, coworkers, whatever those stressors are, we have actual emotional stressors, but we also have physical stressors. So if we have chronic health conditions, if we have autoimmune conditions, if we have nutritional deficiencies or other things going on, that causes inflammation in our body that can also cause stress on the adrenal gland. We may also have toxins in our body, things like heavy metals. We can also have some toxins that have come about through our environment. We have sometimes from vaccines that those can actually stay around in our body if your body is struggling to get rid of some of those toxins. And we can also see things like endotoxins and enterotoxins from our bacteria balance that may be off inside of our intestines, or sometimes even mold exposure through our home as well, or through our environment. So you may have toxins that are causing stress. You may have physical stressors inside of your body with inflammation, allergies, chronic health issues, or emotional stress, and kind of dealing with all of the things that we have thrown at us nowadays. So those are 3 reasons you may be having hot flashes, but the most important thing, like I said, is we want to make sure we're supporting those organ systems. So number 1, you want to make sure you're getting enough fiber. Ideally, you want 7 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. I usually say you want to aim for about 6 to 7 of veggies especially. If you struggle with that, green supplements can be really helpful. Smoothies can be really helpful. I know this Saturday in our office here in the Metro Center in Peoria, Illinois, we actually have Taste of Metro Center going on. So we are going to have some smoothies to taste here in the office, as well as some electrolyte popsicles for those of you that are struggling to get the proper electrolyte balance or have some kidney issues. But it's really important to make sure you are getting that fiber, because your fiber, especially your colorful veggies, are going to have more of those B vitamins, and then citrus fruits are going to have more of your C vitamins. But you can also see those C vitamins in those same colorful veggies as well. So really important to make sure you're getting enough veggies especially. And if, like I said, you do have an issue with a gene mutation like MTHFR, you may want to look into a B complex that is actually methylated already. So you don't have to worry about your liver trying to do that on top of everything else. Another thing you want to do is support that liver. So we want to make sure we're doing a detox at least once a year. And if we have damage to the liver and those liver enzymes are elevated that I mentioned, we want to make sure we are supporting the liver to detoxify and help it heal. 2 of the best herbs I have found that help with liver healing are milk thistle as well as licorice root. Now, licorice root has a lot of caution with it, so that's one I don't recommend doing on your own unless you have somebody to guide you. If you need some help with that, you can definitely give my office a call and we can get you set up for a consultation, or you can go on our website, freedompeoria.org, and request a consultation. But really important to make sure you know exactly what you're doing with licorice root, because it can cause some big issues, especially if you're trying to do that long term. And then the number 3 thing, if you've already tried those things, you're already eating well, you know that you're supporting your liver, doing everything possible, you've done a detox, and you're still having issues, well, it might be time to get your hormones tested. Like I said, a lot of times when you do the blood testing, you may be told, oh, everything's normal, when in reality it's not, because we're not looking at the change throughout the day and we're not looking at bioavailable hormones. So if you need help with that, same thing, go to our website, freedompeoria.org. You request an appointment. You can also now order lab testing. So we have 2 different lab tests that are available specifically for hormones. So we have one that is a salivary test that looks at bioavailable hormones. That is probably the one that gives the most information. I absolutely love it. We also have blood testing available for males and females. It's called a male or female, basically a hormone wellness profile, and that is a blood test. So if you go to our website, on the very front page at the very bottom, it says order labs, or under our services tab, there is also another button to click to order labs yourself, and that would be under the hormone section. So you can check those out, order your own labs, or give my office a call. We'll set up a consultation. We can talk about what might be the best for you specifically to know what's going on for your body and what we can do to get you healing and feeling better as soon as possible. So thanks for tuning in this week, and we will see you next week on Wellness Wednesday.